Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. This week we have a special show. We're going to run through every ADCC 2024 athlete that has been announced, talk a little bit about potentially who's going to be invited, and basically just give you some information about all of the athletes in case you haven't seen them, don't know them. This is that show. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, to my co-host,
Zach.
How you doing, Zach?
Pretty good.
We just went through an hour and a half of pre-show trying to get all the notes together, try to basically do a big preview for ADCC so far. Now, ADCC happens in August of this year. It runs on a 2-year cycle. Let me give context right now for the first minute of the show. It runs on a 2-year cycle. In order to get into ADCC, typically what happens is you are either a returning medalist or in the top 4 of your division, or you win a trials, and there are 4 trials there are 2 trials across the 4 regions of the world. Last week, we just had the second U.S. or the North American qualifier, typically called the U.S. trials, the West Coast trials, and the winners of those divisions in those brackets get an invite slot, essentially, or get a slot, not really an invite. They win a trial slot into their divisions. For the women, because the women's divisions are only divisions of 8, it is only the second qualifier of a region. So last one, because the West Coast Trials is the second North American qualifier, the women that won that got a spot. The men's divisions, the divisions of 16. Women's divisions of 8. This is the first year that we have 3 women's divisions, or not the first year technically, we've had them before, but the first year in the modern era that we are having 3 women's divisions. So we have some new placements for like the returning champions and returning medalists. We're not exactly certain what division they're going to go in, but we can make a guess. We're going to talk about that. And basically just lead you through of like a who's who of, hey, here's who's going to be at the World Championship so far. We have the majority of the names in most divisions, but
we got 1 trials remaining, correct?
Yeah, we have the Oceanic
second Oceanic trials.
Yes.
So a couple spots still on the table.
Yep.
If you have citizenship in any of the countries that are part of that region. And specifically the women's divisions, that's that 4th slot that comes from a trials winner is still open.
Yep.
But largely
also they're invite slots. So invite slots are also like Nicholas Magali last cycle was like, hey, killing it in the gi. He wants to make the transition over to no-gi. ADC was like, you're really good. We want to see if you can do it. You're on that world level. Like Mikey Musumeci has got a slot. Ryan Hall has got a slot. Like people that are of note, like GSP in years past was like, hey, you're GSP. We're going to give you an invite slot. Mackenzie Dern in this cycle, she's a 2-time ADCC world champion. They're giving her an invite. So people of significant note or people that have performed really well in trials, like Keith Krikorian. Has gotten invites before because he has got silver medals at a bunch of different trials, and he was the next in line essentially to go, you're on the level, you're doing trials, and you're going to get in.
And ADCC likes to invite the occasional, sometimes it's someone that has been in ADCC before, and sometimes it's just an MMA fighter. They like to have an MMA fighter in there every once in a while. That's sort of probably why we see Mackenzie Dern getting an invite this time. Yeah. She was a formal medalist at ADCC, transitioned to MMA for a number of years, hasn't really competed in jiu-jitsu, gets an invite. Ryan Hall was a similar situation last time, even though he didn't end up competing. It keeps things interesting.
It keeps things interesting, and it also gives like people that maybe are not as entrenched in jiu-jitsu as like guys like Zach and I and Miranda and Josh and the whole Grappling Rewind team a chance to see like, hey, that guy's in the UFC or that guy's in Bellator or that guy's in Pride. Bring him into ADCC to see, to bring new eyes onto the organization and the sport. And generally speaking, those are fun guys. Ben Askren got an invite one year. Those are fun people to have in these events. And there's a little less of that nowadays, but we still occasionally get invites. Like there's a big discussion this year if Kaynan Duarte is going to get an invite. Now he's making the transition much like Nicholas Margali did into no-gi. He's a guy that we would love to see given his fan-friendly and action style, but he would be the guy that, although he doesn't do a lot of no-gi, he didn't do the trials, he is of that level where people know that he can compete and contend, and so would like to see him in ADCC.
Really open for that one.
So that's the preview for the show. We are doing behind the curtain here. We're doing this like middle of the week Friday because I'm out of town. So this happens I think this is the second time this has ever happened in the history of the show where I have not been able to finagle my travel due to the eclipse. We're doing it early, so that's why this show is out of order. We're going to get back to the regularly scheduled programming this following week with the recap of 1FC, all of those matches, Fury, some other things. So we'll get back to the normal stuff this following week. We previewed it on last week's show if you want to get into that, and then we'll move back normal the following week. But today's show is just ADCC, and I am excited, Zach. Let's kick it off with the champions. We have returning champions, so champions and your top four, your medalists and your top four essentially usually get invited back. Occasionally they won't, but I think almost always by a rule, they have earned their spot by placing in the previous ADCC. Yeah. So under 66 kilograms, we have Diogo Baby Shark Reis. He is confirmed. He is confirmed as returning. We find out this week. And by the way, this show's going to come out, and between when this show gets announced, when this show comes out and recorded, there will be like 4 other invites that have been announced probably, because we've had like 2 today, essentially. So, you know, we're going to miss a few names that get announced between Friday and the show comes out on Tuesday. Baby Shark, recent knee injury to Pato, former champion. He was at Who's Number 1. He looks like he's back. He looks like he's healthy. He did also have an injury at AIGA, so he was unable to do that. So a bit injury prone, which is concerning, but man, he looked phenomenal in 2022 ADCC. Again, he won the whole thing.
Yeah, and in 2022, he was giving up some weight even. He was on the small side for 66. It seems like he's gotten maybe a little bit bigger. The injuries to Pato, the recent injury to Pato is concerning. He's got a lot of time to heal up, but that's also, he's got 2 losses to Pato that are very recent.
Yeah.
And so the returning champ, we're going to see Pato in this division as well. He took 3rd. As long as he accepts the invite, he's probably going to get one. Not confirmed, but...
Not technically confirmed, but like a lot of the people that medal in place, they are like the last people we see get in because it's implied, and so they spread out the invites, and if you medaled, like, yeah, it's implied you're going to get there. Those people are announced closer to the tournament, and it's not unusual, again, to have half the champions not confirmed and half the medalists not confirmed. We don't expect to not see Pato, especially with like his recent world championship like runs and medals and everything he's doing at Who's Number 1 and like previously medaling at ADCC. So it'll be interesting to have them. I would guess that they're going to be probably opposite sides of the bracket.
Probably.
Yeah. So that sucks. Again, sucks Pato's recently injured, but man, Baby Shark looked phenomenal at 2022, won the whole thing, and looked great at the last trials he did for ADCC, where he actually won his spot initially in South American trials. So look for Baby Shark in. We are going to run through these names a little quick because we have, I don't know, about 80 plus names to go through, and this show is not going to be super, super long. 77 kilogram champion Kade. We're going to go through all the champions first, then divisions. 77 kilogram champion Kade Ruotolo, now the champion in 1FC. We've really not seen him outside of 1FC until like a month ago when he jumped back into IBJJF to go get into the GP and then into getting his points. So he's been doing a bunch of IBJJF events and trying to get his GI qualifying points for the World Championships, which I think he absolutely will do.
Sure.
He got confirmed like this morning.
Yeah, but so, again, not a surprise on this confirmation. And you know, Kade, he and his brother Ty, absolute tears. Interesting style. I love seeing them in these tournaments because they play into the game in a really beautiful way that makes it entertaining. They're entertaining people to watch, especially in this rule set.
We're going to recap their matches this next week. He's going against Francisco Lowe, and they had a shoving match at the weigh-ins, and I'm super excited for that matchup. We previewed it last week. I'm amped for it. Kade is one of my favorite dudes. One of the guys that I regret the most not interviewing in 2019 because I interviewed his brother, but Kade wasn't in there. They were both like 16. I was like, I'll interview just Ty. I won't interview Kade. And I'm looking back on like...
mistakes.
I could have interviewed them both right there. I could have done that, but I didn't. Moving on, we have Giancarlo Bodoni at under 88 kilogram. He is your champion.
Yep.
Probably going to see him back. He's jumped into the ADCC Opens and looked phenomenal. Yeah. We've seen him look great. We saw him in the Polaris GP recently. He did lose that to Kaynan Duarte. No, sorry, to Fabricio Andrey.
Yeah.
But that was a bit of a weird match. Other than that, Bodoni has looked phenomenal. He's had a rough match against Pedro Mourinho, who really out-wrestled him and like played that perfectly in the Who's Number 1 rule set. But Bodoni is just a monster all around. I'm gonna use like the same like 4 phrases to refer to a lot of these people because these people in ADCC are the upper echelon of the sport and well and far above a lot of their competition in many ways. Bodoni is absolutely that guy, but he has a lot of guys at 88 that are looking to come for him.
88's a stacked division, and I think Bodoni was, for me, I thought he was good. I thought he was a top contender last ADCC Worlds. A lot of people disagreed with me. I think he was a bit of a dark horse coming through, and he looked great in the tournament and has looked consistently good since. So I think he's a top
consistently
contender.
Good, but he has had definitely up and down performances that have been. But again, that's kind of Giancarlo. Like, he puts it together for a tournament and then he kills everyone. But occasionally he'll have like super fights or in and out matches. Again, I would expect Bodoni to come in with a full camp looking phenomenal. Wouldn't even surprise me to see him at under 99. But I assume he probably makes the cut for 88 again.
Probably.
Speaking of under 99, we have Kaynan Duarte has been confirmed. What do you want to say about Kaynan?
Yeah, Kainan's a staple. I mean, if you pay attention to jiu-jitsu, if you listen to this show, you probably pay attention at least enough of jiu-jitsu that you understand how dominant Kaynan has been for the past 5 years.
My note to everyone is he has been the champ. He's beat everyone else. What do you want to know? 2 wins over Nicky Rod. His last close matches to Gordon Ryan in 2018 at the IBJJF Worlds. Does have lost to Tim Spriggs, and who's number 1, but that was
a weird
kind
match.
of a weird heel hook match. In my note, he has the most negatives ever in an ADCC final versus Craig Jones in 2022. Just a dominant performance over Craig Jones in 2022.
The negatives were an interesting strategy, but it was the right strategy.
It was the right, and he talked about it in the post-fight interview of like why he did that. And again, he's also the +99 champion from 2019. Like, Duarte is the front runner in that division to take the whole thing. I think
far.
No one has any doubt that he has the possibility to win that whole thing as easily as he has in the past.
Yeah, +99.
We have Gordon Ryan, so not confirmed. Gordon Ryan is the front runner for any division, any match that he is in. There's not a person in the sport that has come close to beating him recently.
But we don't know what Gordon Ryan's going to do. It was a special circumstance last time where he was allowed to do the +99 as well as the super fight. He is coming back for the super fight for sure.
Probably.
He's made, well, I guess probably. It would be really weird if he didn't, I guess. But
yeah. It would be really weird to not have him in.
Yeah.
But again, we've had the super fight champion at ADCC not return before. But it would be very weird because Gordon Ryan holds ADCC in the highest esteem above everything else for the Nogi side for what he does. So it would be unprecedented for him to not return to it. We don't know if he's going to go +99 and do the super fight.
I think he's made comments about how he didn't want to do that because he's got teammates in the +99 division and he doesn't want to be competing with them, but he also said he might do it. Like, there were some weird comments made a couple months ago from him about what he wanted to do. But
neither surprises me. We'll probably see him versus Yuri Samos in the tournament. We'll talk about Yuri. Yuri has been confirmed because he won, not technically confirmed, but he won the super fight. Because he won the absolute. And if you win the absolute in ADCC, you then go and face the former absolute champion, which in this case was Andre Galvao, who got beaten by Gordon Ryan at this last tournament. So it is now Gordon Ryan. And so Yuri and Gordon are scheduled to fight at ADCC, and that's it's all but confirmed that is the plan, because that's the only matchup that we knew leaving the arena at 2022 was like, okay, 2024, it's going to be Yuri versus Gordon. They even faced off.
Yeah.
Like, that's a match we're going to see.
But whether or not he comes back to +99 is unclear.
Yeah, could leave that division wide open. We really don't know. Only person that knows is Gordon. Legitimately, probably. And even he probably doesn't know at this time.
Yeah, maybe not.
So moving on to the women's division. So 2022 was the last year that we had the 2 women's divisions. We had the under 60 kilogram weight class, which is Ffion Davies, and we had the over 60 kilogram weight class that was won by Amy Campo. This year, those are now 3 divisions. We have an under 55 kilogram division, an over 65 kilogram division, and an under 65 kilogram division. And so I am guessing that Amy Campo will move to the +65 kilogram division, and Ffion will probably move to the under 65 kilogram division. I don't think Ffion will comfortably make under 121.
Yeah, I don't think Ffion comfortably makes under 121. Does Amy go to under 65, and then we see them both at under 65?
I don't think so. I think Campo. Campo towers over me when I've interviewed her. Like,
but you're a child.
I am a child-sized man. Yes. Again, the camera video for this show always has a weird forced perspective where I look. You have a big, long torso, and I don't. I look dwarfed next to you.
It's because you are dwarfed.
I am. You got like 100 pounds on me.
I could wear you like an Iron Man suit.
You could. They're like giant. So we have Ffion Davies returning. Fion's beaten everyone. She won the absolute at Worlds. At Europeans. in the gi, in no gi. The only loss she's taken recently is to Elizabeth Clay via footlock and Polaris GP. She's beaten everyone else, and then actually Elizabeth Clay is out because she's having a child.
Yep.
So Amy Campo is the reigning, like, not defending technically, but she just beat Brianna Stay Marie, who is the silver medalist, and she beat her, who's number one, dominantly a couple of weeks ago. Like, Ffion is the front runner in her division. She will most likely return. Hasn't been confirmed, but all but confirmed. Same thing with Amy Campo. Very dominant win over Gabby Garcia at ADCC. She's had some really great performances. Had a really tough match with Gabriela Prasanna at the IBJJF GP, where she looked very good. Campo's looked good. We don't see her compete as frequently.
And we never
Ffion.
did.
Yeah, she would come in, she would beat a bunch of people, and then we'd kind of not see Amy Campo for a little bit. So that's not really uncommon, but she is not confirmed. I would guess that she's going to be back to ADCC. It would surprise me to not. It's always surprising to not have her champion come back. It usually happens every ADCC, but
outside of retirements and things like that, it's unusual to see someone not come back.
Most of our champions here are on the young side too, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think the oldest guy is probably
Kaynan at this point, maybe.
Is he younger? Is he? Gordon?
I'm actually not sure how old Bodoni is either.
I think Bodoni's early. Maybe Bodoni's the oldest champion. But, like, regardless, we're talking guys early 30s at best.
Yeah,
like
at oldest.
Yes. Now let's move on to Zach, where do you want to start? I figured we start at under 66, but you always like to start with the heavy gentleman.
I like to start with the important ones.
Hey, Zach. Hey. For those who listen to the audio show, I'm about 150. Zach's about 250 for anyone who doesn't watch the video show. And so I always like to start with people my size. Zach always likes to start with people his size. But I've organized the notes this time, so we're starting with 66 kilograms.
Starting at the bottom makes sense.
Diogo Baby, Owen Jones. We're going to run down. Flo has a big list out of these two. We just have a bunch of notes in that same order because I actually really like the order that Flo put it in.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
So Owen Jones. Owen Jones is the first European trials winner, represents England. He's a young brown belt. He got promoted after his trials win.
So he's in there at purple, got promoted to brown after the trials win.
Couldn't do Worlds because IBJJF found out he got promoted, and then he got pissed. It was just kind of funny.
Wins over Ash Williams in the recent
ADCC
wins
trials.
in ADCC trials.
Yeah.
And the bracket didn't only have Ashley Williams, but also had Sam McNally, two of our previous European trials winners. So a strong bracket for him to win for trials. Outside of that, just a pretty young guy. It's always exciting to see one of those, every ADCC has a trials winner or two that's a young guy that we don't know a lot about that ends up in the tournament. It's always really exciting to see what they do.
He also has a recent win over Dominic Mejia, and they had a fun back and forth that kind of like jabbered at each other prior to their super fight, and we were kind of curious if Mejia would be able to take him, and Owen Jones was able to beat him. So really bodes well for Owen Jones. We also have in this division, speaking of young guys, Dorian Olivarez. He's like 17.
Yeah. He's still a high school wrestler and a very good high school wrestler.
Went to Fargo.
Went to Fargo.
And did he win Fargo?
I don't know if he won Fargo or not.
Regardless, like he is an elite high school wrestler, and I got a chance.
Trains at B team on the side, and then won ADCC trials.
He's out of Houston, technically. I think we are going to see him very quickly go into MMA. But we get a chance to see him in jiu-jitsu. I had the pleasure of seeing him actually being a mat side, one of the judges for his run at Dallas before he did trials. And I texted the whole chat. I was like, whoever this kid is, let's look out. And then he immediately wins Combat Jiu-Jitsu Worlds and then immediately wins trials. And it was like, I called it like a month and a half in advance. Very, very good. He has a really, really out wrestling style that frustrates a lot of guys. Wins over Johnny Grippo, wins over Ethan Crelinsten. Very hard for a lot of guys to deal with. Beat Dominic Mejia at the first trials and the finals. Very good, very unknown, very good wrestler though. Ethan Thomas. He is the first Asian and Oceanic trials winner representing Australia.
Ethan's an MMA guy. I had to look this up a little bit, but apparently he's an MMA guy. MMA guy, has focused mostly on MMA recently. 2 fights this year, both wins. Kind of came a little bit out of nowhere on this, right? We know that elite MMA fighters or very good MMA fighters can play incredible jiu-jitsu. We've seen it in the past. In this particular bracket, the favorite was a gentleman that has the nickname Spatch, Jacob Brooks.
Out of Spatchzilla.
Yeah.
Out of Pedigo. Yeah, the Pedigo guy.
It's a Pedigo guy. And so Spatch was the favorite in the division. Spatch was beaten by a gentleman named David Stolsku.
David Stolecki.
Stolecki?
Everyone calls him David Stoley.
David Stoley. So Spatch was beat by David Stoley, who then Ethan Thomas beat in the finals. And so, by way of beating Stoli,
he's in. Again, it's always fun. We've seen him on other stuff before, but he's, again, one of those guys that it's hard to remember back 6 months and find records for. So, again, always fun. The European guys have been recently just bringing it at the World Championships, and so it's fun. We also have a second European Trials winner. Oh, sorry.
That was Oceania, first Oceania.
Wrong one. We also have Gairbeg Ibragimov as the second European Trials winner representing Russia. He's from Dagestan, and surprising to no one, if you've seen Dagestani wrestlers, he can play off his back a little bit, but very good low stance wrestler, and he didn't do as much of it in the finals as we thought he was going to do, but it's evident that it's there.
Yeah,
he has the ability to do that,
and that's an interesting. I'm interested to see how this plays out with him in ADCC, because we always talk about what happens if the Dagestani MMA guys join ADCC. It's just like a constant discussion, and there's a lot of
We've
argument.
We've seen it in AIGA. They do pretty well, but Brazilians and Americans still typically have the jump on. It's just a more frequent sport that's practiced in these regions than it is over there, where MMA is more primary and wrestling is a more primary, larger sport.
So it'll be interesting to see how things play out with him in the tournament this time.
Yeah, should be fun. You had some notes on it. Well, he has some World Pro wins.
Yeah, he had some. Like, I was trying to find his history. He had some World Pro Abu Dhabi World Pro wins,
which is the biggest contemporary to IBJJF. It's done much more in the other regions of the world that are not U.S., Brazil, and Europe.
Yeah, and so he's got some gi wins there, which is interesting.
It is very interesting. Also, we have Kennedy Maciel, who is the silver medalist in 2019. He took his dad's spot that year. Corbe was the champion coming into that year, and he was like, I'm retired. I'm going to give it to my kid. And everyone went, can he do that? And ADC was like, sure as hell he can. And then Kennedy showed us that he was on the level. He got silver that year, only losing to Tequino, who basically went, okay, I'm also old. I'm going to retire. And then Kennedy did not win in place in 2022, but man, his wrestling has looked good. We talked about him versus Gabriel Souza at the recent AIGA when he was representing Acai Republic. Looks amazing. And then he goes into South American trials and kills everyone. And you go, oh shit, I forgot for a minute for some reason that Kennedy was really, really good.
Well, he was kind of a favorite, one of the favorites going into last year,
2022
Worlds, and then didn't place, which was a big shock. But I think you kind of forget about it. It's easier to forget about people that you have a lot of hope for that don't like match that expectation. But man, he looks incredible lately.
Go watch his trials run. Go watch his recent match versus Gabriel Souza at IGA, where he subbed Gabriel Souza. Like, to put him on the level, like, Kennedy is absolutely a front runner in this division. Dude, 66 is so crazy. We also have Fabricio Andrey in this division, the second South American trials winner. My first note, motherfucker, about it. He goes up to Absolute. He did the Polaris GP. He only lost to Duarte. He beat Giancarlo Bodoni in that.
Also did the ADCC Worlds Absolute and had a loss versus
Victor Hugo.
Victor Hugo in the
Absolute first round. Victor Hugo,
the biggest guy and the smallest guy in the first round. Yeah. So,
but Fabricio Andrey was very infrequent to see guys at 66. We've seen it before, like Keith Krikorian went against Buchecha in 2019. We see it infrequently, but Fabricio Andrey looked phenomenal. Recent change of camp. I forget exactly where he ended up now, but go back and watch his flying triangle armbar win over Felipe Machado, who's another front runner for probably for an invite, but because he looked phenomenal at the trials as well. But man, Fabricio Andrey has great judo, great stand-up, and just all is very, very exciting to watch. Watch him in Polaris Absolute. Watch that whole tournament, and you can see just how good he is. We also have invited Ethan Crelinsten. I got so many questions about why Ethan got invited, and I was like, it's because of one of these trials, right? And I looked up to make sure I was right. Yeah, Ethan Crelinsten's been on level for a long time. First place at trials in 2017, 2018. Then he went to 2017 for that cycle.
Yep.
Then he goes to ADCC in 2017, doesn't win it, but he's in it. Then he wins trials in 2018, but he's injured.
Yep.
So he doesn't do the World Championships in 2019, and so basically ADCC went, you won the trials, you were injured, we'll just put you we'll do you that service of giving you your slot for 2022 because you've already won a trials for the last cycle and couldn't do it.
Yep.
He then goes, puts on a banger of a match with Josh Cisneros. It
Yeah.
was one of the highlight matches. Cisneros beats him, but looked good. Then he did trials again. One of the big criteria for ADCC for getting an invite is doing the trials again. He gets third. He also loses to Dorian Olivarez, who won the trials, which always bodes well. And so he's been on the level. He's already been to the World Championships multiple times. He's won the trials multiple times. And so it is very reasonable for Ethan Crelinsten to get an invite slot, which is why we didn't see him at West Coast trials. And Ethan gets that spot, looking shredded.
And it's, like being part of these teams, like that history plus being part of B team is also a part of it, right? You invite people that are part of really competitive groups of people, and that makes sense here.
They're going to be on the level come day of. They have the right training environments, the right training camps, and that does factor in, I think, a little bit.
And I think it should.
Discussions. It should. Like a guy from an established, well-matched World Championship level camp will probably come in most of the time over like an amazing athlete that doesn't have the World Championship level training environment.
Agreed.
So we also have, speaking of World Championship level training environments, Deandre Corbe just won the West Coast trials. They have him representing Canada. I think that actually is correct, but I always forget that. He's at a standard. He's close to us. Zach and I have done some commentary for his of his brother when he was out here winning absolutes. Beats Keith Krikorian in the finals in a really dominant performance. Looked amazing. Wins at Nogi Pans. Like, we have been hot on Deandre and his brother Gavin. He beat his brother by sub at the trials, which is something we've been waiting to see for the past 4 years because they're always one match apart in the same brackets. Both him and his brother are phenomenal. The whole crew at Standard has a really interesting training style with Greg Stouters. We're very close to them. We see those guys frequently in locals, just demolishing people.
Well, and they also had a breakout at Nogi Pans last year, last year. I'm not sure which, I can't remember exactly, but they had the whole gym had a breakout performance where Deandre and his brother and 2 other individuals placed at Pans, all in the same foul swoop, and they've really been focused on ADCC here. So it's a group that is starting to become a team that you recognize. There's a lot of people there that are very serious about training, and they're starting to win big events as a team, and so it'll be interesting to see Deandre in the tournament this year.
We also have just announced today or yesterday Kauã Gabriel, 2-time silver medalist of the trials. He did back-to-back weekends, got silver in both, only losing to the champion both times. Lost to Kennedy and lost to Fabricio. Again, that's an easy pick. You have a guy that in back-to-back weekends can make it through an entire trials and only lose in the finals. Bodes very well. You also picked up that he's a Milky Gaval guy.
Yeah, and so this is another one of those cases that you see a bunch of people come out of the same training camp, and I don't. He's not there anymore. I'm not sure. I don't think he's there now. I think a lot of people left. Malik
some stuff happened, and
so I know
exodus.
Pato left a long time ago. Fabricio Andrey left.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if he's still there or not, but he was in that room training with those people, and so it's one of those cases where it makes sense that he's on the level.
Why he's on the level, yeah. So very, very good invite. Should be a fun invite. We'll talk about the rest of the people that are probably going to get invited at the end of the show, depending on how much time we have.
Yeah.
Moving on to that's what we have announced and confirmed. Aside from the returning. Let me pull it up here. People that are Diego Hayes, champion. Gabriel Souza got silver. He's coming back probably, and Pato got bronze, probably coming back. We can almost all but assume that people that medaled at the last ADCC are going to return because that's how it worked. Gabriel Souza is phenomenal. Currently dating Ffion Davies, and they have been looking phenomenal. They compete all the time together now, which is great to see. Not really as relevant to the matchmaking side of the show, but of note. And then we talked about Pato at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
So moving on to 77 kilograms, we have returning champion, who we already talked about, Kade Ruotolo, now announced. We have Joseph Chen, also coming in this division, representing South America and Germany potentially, but I think he represents South America or
South Africa. Sorry,
he's one of the guys with the triple passport game.
Yeah.
So he can do the Asian trials or the European trials. He won the European trials. He's at B team for a while. He jumps around a lot.
Yeah.
But he has a really, really interesting training approach and has been very exciting. In his run-up to the European win, he beat Tommy Langecker, who would then go on to win the second European trials, and Oliver Taza, who has gone on to, win trials or place second at a bunch of trials, like very much on the level at a new wave. But he beat both of those guys in his run-up. He had a really exciting match with both of them, and it kind of displays all aspects of his game and his game planning.
Impressive run, especially, and it'll be exciting to see him in there. You know, when you see someone beat guys like Langaker and Taza,
you have to be of a certain level and of a certain like ability to be able to do that. Like those guys are great benchmarking guys of like, are you essentially elite? If you can beat those guys, yes.
And you beat them both in the same tournament. It's not like
back to back.
Back to back. So it's not like there's a fluke here. Like this
you had
is a
to fight
consistent thing.
Langaker, then you had to fight Taza.
And they're very different games. It's a good sign.
Yes. There's a recent loss to Levi Jones-Leary and Polaris, but he kept it close versus the best Berimbolo player that has ever lived, possibly. Definitely right now. And he's also, Levi Jones-Leary is bigger than Chen. Again, this is 77, and they were in absolute. I think Levi Jones-Leary is 85 at least now. So
Elijah Dorsey,
he's
in East Coast Trials winner.
Beat Nicky Ryan at East Coast Trials, who was the absolute favorite now that Tackett was out of that division to win. Nicky Ryan looked phenomenal through the entire tournament and then had a weird performance at the end where Elijah Dorsey just played a beautiful kind of like IBJJF ADCC style points win.
Yeah, it was there was a lot of discussion about that match, like whether Nicky Ryan was hurt or not. But Elijah looked great
that day. He hadn't eaten that day. It was an odd match, but Elijah took it pretty cleanly over Nicky Ryan, which nobody in that tournament did.
Yeah, young black belt out of TLI. Excited to see what he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know. Plays a very tactically strong game in a way that we've seen plenty of people win ADCC with that kind of strategy. Yep. Also in this bracket, we have Kenta Iwamoto. I love Kenta Iwamoto.
Who doesn't love Kenta?
Dude, he's awesome. He's got a great wrestling style. He has won Asian trials in 2019, in 2022, and 2023. He is no stranger. ADCC was at the World Championships in 2019, 2022, and he's going to 2024. He got JT Torres at the first round of 2022.
Ooh, and that was a match.
And he almost beat JT Torres. And we all went, we knew Kenta was good. We knew he was on the level, but we did not expect him to put it to JT Torres like he did and almost out-wrestle JT Torres. Yeah. And it's like...
And it probably impacted JT's run there, too, because immediately after that, JT got another tough wrestling match with Barch and lost that match. Like it's, I think that was a crazy match for Kenta. Yes. And
Kenta has a win over Keith Krikorian. Go back and watch all of Kenta's trials runs. You can see him just being one of the best wrestlers in Asian trials, essentially, repeatedly. Man, he's a B team now, but he does travel a lot. But he's, again, in that B team room now and again, and those guys know how to win at ADCC.
They certainly do.
Silver. Moving on, we have Tommy Langaker. We just talked about him versus Joseph Chen. Tommy Langaker's been around forever. Josh and I, early in the Grappling Rewind, were covering Tommy Langaker, and it just repeatedly... I think Josh said it was like at any point in time, Tommy Langaker can pull a rabbit out of his hat and beat you. Like that has kind of been his game forever. He's been to ADCC before, representing Norway. He's mostly gi, but recently we've seen him do a lot more no gi. We saw him take on Kade Ruotolo in 1FC and have a really close match with Kade Ruotolo in 1FC. Langaker's a monster. Yeah. He's been a monster. He's the top guy in Norway forever.
And he's one of those guys that is so enjoyable to watch always. Like his style fits something that is entertaining.
And he's always having a good time. Yeah. He had one of the grossest leg locks ever versus Oliver Taza where he just was like, nah, I'm good. And it didn't break and he got out of it. And then he ripped his whole foot around and he showed that his foot wasn't broken. And I was like, that's wild.
Yeah.
Love watching Tommy Langaker compete. It's awesome to see him doing more no-gi recently. JT Torres has been invited and accepted. JT Torres is a two-time champ of ADCC in 2019 and in 2017. We just talked about his run in 2022, but looked untouchable at those first two. I don't think I had points scored against him in either of those World Championship wins. He will inside trip you and get 2 points and beat you. And that is how he won those world titles. I have a note. He got that dog in him, is my note for JT Torres. You've recently just trained with JT Torres for like a week.
Yeah, we had a 3-day camp in Cleveland. I have some friends that train out in Cleveland, and I went out there for this 3-day camp that he put on, 4 sessions over a couple days. Really incredible time. Although all of the black belts got rounds in with him after every time, and it was always funny. I try to train with world-class guys whenever I can, and so I'm very used to the experience of being a black belt that is very average against an incredibly skilled black belt, and just, you know, the emotional trauma that causes. But I'm not sure that a lot of the other guys there had experienced that in the same way in the past. And there was a lot of 1,000-yard stares happening throughout
just
the
not
weekend.
Realizing that there are levels to the game and you're not there.
Or just the gap. Like, you know that there's levels, and I think most people are going to show up on the mats and be like, yeah, JT's going to beat me. But you don't think, yeah, JT's going to sub me 7 times in a 6-minute round like I'm a white belt.
Can kind of casually do it and then
and then do it to the next black belt. So, you know, it's always, but his runs at 2017 and 2019 put him as, you know, one of my favorite jiu-jitsu players of all time. That's why I went to that camp. But, you know, we in 2022, we hadn't seen a lot of from him leading up to the tournament. There were questions about how much he was training or if he was even going to do it, and then he jumped in. I think he looked good technically. He lost for the first time, and so I'm curious to see, you know, he's got a match coming up here soon.
He just got one
it was announced, but I can't remember who it's against.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's you know, gonna do a couple matches.
Zach, you feel or look? Well, look.
So it looks like he's gonna be starting to take on at least 1 or 2 matches leading up to ADCC this time. Maybe he's getting some of the shaking out some of the
rust a little bit.
The rust, and
but again, it's JT Torres. Like it's JT Torres, man. At any point in time, he wins the whole thing, and everyone goes, "Yeah, I saw it."
Yeah.
I do not have.
I can't fill too much longer.
Yeah, it's fine. I can't find the match.
Yeah, he took a match recently. I just remember seeing the post of him signing the agreement.
Oh, Nicky Ryan.
Oh yeah, he's got Nicky Ryan. It's a great match for
Friday,
him.
May 10th.
Nicky Ryan, nice segue into the next person that we have invited for ADCC, because it is Nicky Ryan.
It is on the list. He's the youngest athlete to ever compete in ADCC. He was like 15 in 2017. He was an injury replacement like day before, day of or something, or like a visa issue. But like his brother had won the trials or...
in 2017?
Was it? I always get the years mixed up. I know who they fought those years, but... He draws AJ Agazarm that year. That'd be the year that AJ Agazarm got silver. And then he has been on a streak ever since then. He won he won trials in 2019. He beat Kade Ruotolo back then, I think. Yep. And then he beat Keith. He is second at the trials in 2023 to Elijah Dorsey. We talked about that match kind of being an odd match. He looked phenomenal in the run-up to the trials. He got third at trials at 2016 and at 2017. Yep. Like, he is his younger brother of the greatest grappler that is currently competing.
And he's been in the running for a long time. I mean, obviously, he's been in the running for a long time. He's been a name that we talked about. And when he's on, he looks incredible. He's had some injury issues, which I think are largely to blame for a lot of the problems. Well, a lot of the times when you see him go down in a tournament, you're like, man, he looked really good. What happened? It's usually you find out that he had a knee blown out for half the match or something like that.
Or a shoulder. Or like very injury prone for a long time. But when he is on, he's something else. We just usually other than trials, have never seen him on for a whole tournament. He doesn't compete very often because he's been doing super fights since he was like 14 or 15. Like, he's just not in that regular IBJJF circuit. He's been on the super fight scene making money to compete since he was a kid, and so we just don't have a lot of matches with him to kind of talk about. But the ones we do have, looks phenomenal. Luis Paulo is the first South American Trials winner representing Brazil. He beat fan favorite Majid Haid at Trials, which made Miranda and myself sad because I love watching Majid. But he's very good. Watch him in Polaris. He had a really, really good match against PJ Barch in this most recent Polaris, and it was like, ooh, Paulo's one to watch out for. Really good foot sweep, took Barch down with a foot sweep early, and then Barch kind of was like, got his feet under him and went, okay, I got to take this guy like much more seriously than I think I did. And then Barch was able to win that match, but not many guys can contend with Barch in that way, so look out for his wrestling, look out for his foot sweeps. He got third at Trials in 2022, but look at who he trains under. Yeah.
So this is another Malik Gavao guy, right? So he was in that room with Micah, Fabricio Andrey, Pato, right? Those are all names that are incredibly well known in the community. We might not know Luis as well at this stage, but he's coming out of that group of people. So, you know, the technique is there. Yeah.
Moving on to the second South American Trials winner, we have Alexandre de Jesus, or de Jesus because it's Brazil. Claudio Calazan's black belt. He placed third at Nogi Worlds in 2021. We don't have a ton of info. That's the info that Zach was able to get, leading up
Not a ton on him, but this is the kind of thing that we like to see in ADCC trials. This is what happens, right?
That's why I like trials, is because if you are on the level, you don't have to go and have a bunch of other stuff. You can do that one tournament, show that you're on level, get into the World Championship qualifier, and put you there. Like, you don't have to do these huge run-ups through other circuits. You do the trials, you win the trials, you place the trials, you show you're on the level immediately. And
So, these are always the dark horses that I love to see. We don't know a lot about him.
We know it's a Claudio Calazans black belt, though,
which is legitimate, right? That's something to say, but also in terms of how he competes and what his style is and things like that, we don't know a ton. So it'll be, it's always interesting to see how that plays out at the World Tournament.
Yeah, Jonathan Gracie also was invited from Brazil. Recent wins in the last 2 years over Levi Jones-Leary, Nicky Ryan, Oliver Taza. He got second at South American trials. Miranda and I have been talking about him for a long time with just the change for the changes he's made to his game. A couple years ago, he had a very slow pace. He seemed to have a knee injury that he couldn't quite heal. And in the last 18 months, he has really reinvented his style and changed his pacing. And he has just been trucking through guys in a way that we had not seen him do in a while. Very excited to see him with this kind of new style coming into ADCC. We also have Andrew Tackett. The potential dark horse for everyone in this division. I have gotten 4 different messages this week on, do you think Andrew Tackett can beat Kade Ruotolo?
And after the match with PJ Barch, that becomes a real serious question.
Yeah, and I've gone back and forth on that text a couple of times now, where it's he might be able to beat Kade Ruotolo. Andrew Tackett is very good. He's the middle Tackett brother. He's the younger brother's Caleb. His older brother, we're going to talk about in a minute, is William. He's been to ADCC, has been a trials winner 2-time. Andrew Tackett is the guy that everyone is going that's going to be the guy. And everything about his style, his wrestling, his ability to out-wrestle Oliver Taza, his fluidity, his sub-game, all of it point to a young athlete with a huge potential. Really, the question is long-term, is his back going to hold up? Because he's had some injuries early career, which is never great to hear.
Yeah.
But, dude, go back and watch his Who's Number 1 match against PJ Barch.
Yep.
We know how good Barch is. Barch has a recent win over JT Torres at the World Championships, and Andrew Tackett runs through Barch in a way that we have never seen at black belt Barch do. You got to go back to purple belt to have matches like that from Barch.
Yeah.
Andrew Tackett is on another level recently, put a stamp on West Coast trials. Go back and watch.
And this is a great time for him to be sort of coming into that experience, because he did, we don't have as much tape on him at this stage. It'll be interesting to see how people prepare for him.
He beat
being
Big Dan at Who's Next. Dude,
yeah,
he is one of my favorite guys to watch.
Incredible.
Yeah. Andrew Tackett is one of my favorite dudes to watch, man. That guy is going to be on our radar for a long time. I interviewed him back when he was a kid in Dallas, when him and his brother and Cody Steele were on Kasai.
Yeah.
I got a chance to interview him, and we're the same size back then. And now we're not, and he's a full-ass grown man and winning major events. And so...
moving on to -88.
We have Santeri Lilius, a man's name who I continue to butcher over the years, even though he's won trials 2 separate times in the 2022 cycle for the World Championships and in the 2023 cycle for this World Championships for ADCC.
Lost to Hulk in the first round of Worlds in 2022.
And then Hulk goes on to win silver in that division. So it's that's one of those, well, if you win to use first, second guy, you kind of wonder what their run would have potentially looked like had that not happened. I think Santeri he's done more ADCC. I think he's done an Open as well. I think he is undefeated in trials. Every trials he's done, he's won.
Yeah.
And so he knows the system well. He's really exciting. We're seeing him compete a little more now. I think he's on more people's radar, so I'm seeing him pop up more. I like his game. He's really exciting representing Finland. We also have Jacob Couch. I think probably the fan favorite for the tournament.
Yeah.
Jacob Couch, everyone loves that dude. I love that dude.
And
He's
people
amazing.
really wanted him to be in last ADCC. There was a lot of expectation about him winning trials last time. He placed, but he did not win trials. He didn't get an invite last time. Here he comes through, wins East Coast trials.
He subbed Elder Cruz
with
a heel hook in the finals of trials. Elder Cruz is always in the mix, always medaling, always placing, and then Jacob Couch goes, you know what, false reap, invert, underneath, bop.
And that's kind of his thing. He's very good at doing that.
He's really, really good at it, man.
And so
he's so good at it. When he fought Gordon in their Who's Number 1 match, Gordon made sure to not end up there for him. That's how good he is. That Gordon was yeah, I'm going to control you in this way so you can't do this thing you are amazing at.
which is, a compliment from Gordon at this stage.
And they seem to have maintained kind of close, because Couch will occasionally train with Gordon, and they seem like Gordon's taken a liking to him and past every time I see them talking in on ADCC events, it's cool to have Couch asking Gordon questions, and they seem to have a nice relationship, and he has gained a ton from that match, because I think Gordon was appreciative that Couch saved the card and came in last minute to have a match with him, and so they've built a cool relationship.
Yeah.
And Couch has absolutely leveled up wildly over the last couple of years and looks like a monster now, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy that he's in now. Absolutely a fan favorite. Super nice guy.
Yeah. I've got a chance to interview him a bunch of times, and every time that dude is just super awesome to talk to and super happy to be here and respectful. And it's he's a great dude in the sport.
Fucking sniper with those inversions.
Man, really good heel hook game. Speaking of people in the 88 kilogram division, we got Isaac Maciel. He has won ADCC trials previously at under 99 kilograms. He then switched his spot with Craig Jones in the last World Championships to give Craig Jones the 99 spot, because Craig gave him Craig's 88 spot because Craig was a medalist formerly. Him and Craig in the meantime have had a falling out. Seems to be a pretty bitter falling out, because Craig actually cornered against him specifically at the trials that Isaac was able to win over Bob Farias. It's unfortunate, but he was former B team. Now he was Brazilian Fight Factory. I don't know where Isaac Maciel is now. We're going to see him against Kade Ruotolo next week.
Yeah.
It'll be a really good benchmarking match to see where he is at. Isaac Maciel, he looks really good. He's got good wrestling. We've always wanted to see more of a submission game from him, but plays a really, really dominant points game and can, he has the longest match ever against Kyle Chambers at the Who's Next final. It's a 2.5 hour match or something like that, where he just maintained and dominated 2 hours and 28 minutes of the match. Crazy ability to just be there and in front of guys. I'm curious with his training situation how he's going to look, and that was kind of when we previewed the matchup last week with him against Ty in 1FC. What we don't know about him. But again, has been on the level for a while. He's good all around, and he's got really good leg locks.
Yep.
Moving on to another guy with really good leg locks. Taylor Perlman, representing England, won the second European trials. Heel hooked fucking everyone with the same heel hook, and then he was like, that's working, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Including Adam Wardzinski.
I know, in the final, which sucks. I love Adam Wardzinski. I love his game, but yeah.
I would love to see Adam in ADCC, but,
again. He just...
That's not how it works.
Yeah, man. Taylor Perlman, he did a really cool interview at the end of that. We talked about his training situation, being supported by his girlfriend leading up to the trials because they knew he was going to make it. It's a heartwarming story of him being able to get there. But yeah, man, look for him to heel hook everyone that he goes against, because that's, I think, what he is going to put his eggs in that basket. And he showed at trials that he can do it. We also in this division have Charles Negromonte, the first South American trials winner representing Brazil. He beat Gabriel Almeida in the finals of that.
ADCC vet, Gabriel Almeida in the finals.
He's number one vet.
And he's been, a dominant force in the South American tournament scene, IBJJF tournament scene for a long time, since about 2015. He's been He doesn't really compete in a lot of the world tournaments and things like that. From what we've seen, I think he's been staying in South America largely.
We see him pop up in every big Brazil event.
Yeah.
I think we've seen him stateside a couple of times, but anything in Brazil, Negromonte is going to be there, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yep. So good to see him entering into the world, ADCC Worlds.
And he's there finally. We also have Pedro Marinho. Gabriel Almeida had a rough run that weekend, man. He had to lose to Charles Negromonte, and then the following weekend made it all the way again to lose to Pedro Marinho. And they had a really good back and forth match. We know Pedro Marinho is just a phenomenal athlete. Again, go back and watch Pedro Marino's match versus Giancarlo Bodoni, where he takes the title.
Yeah.
In Who's Number One. Not many guys are making Bodoni at the end of the match go I don't know what to do with this guy.
And Pedro
Marino did that guy.
Yeah, and Marino's been a force for a long time. It's not just a recent thing for him. He's been around for a long time. He's got this incredible guillotine game that everyone knows. We talk about him regularly.
Winning the Kasai qualifier as a purple belt, and then seeing him on Kasai, and then seeing it brown belt, all the wars he had locally with Roberto Jimenez, and they're back and forth, and then Marino finally kind of making the jump over Jimenez, and then Jimenez we now see is on the level as well. Marino's been around for a long time, and for him to continue to do that.
And he didn't just have to beat Gabriel Almeida in the finals here, but he also beat Azaki Bahenz in the same bracket.
Former qualifier, former world contender, former world champion.
Yep. And so, that's a tough that is a tough run for Pedro Marino. And
he's a Nogi world champion. He's a Pange champion. He has a recent win over Lovato. He is Pedro Marino absolutely has one of the most frustrating games. But he has phenomenal wrestling. He will blast you off your feet, and then he will force you to make mistakes as he passes your guard, and he knows how to play the game, and he knows how to put you into a space that you do not want to be in.
And it's a good style for ADCC. His style fits in this rule set very well. So, and this is a good time. Hopefully, it would be nice to see Gabriel Almeida get an invite here as well. Second in both trials, both South American trials, he wins second, and then he won in 2019 trials. So, it seems like maybe
you should be able to trade in 2 silver medals for trials to a spot.
The Keith Krikorian method,
that's
right?
That's what I'm talking about, man. It's like, hey, man, you consistently show that you can consistently get silver at trials. You get 2 of them.
Fine,
you win both of them in a cycle. All right, that's
Fine.
It's essentially the same thing, man.
And he's a vet, so it would be nice to see him in the tournament this time around.
Now moving on, we have Kade Ruotolo. He was a late replacement in 2019. He did under 66 kilograms, and he talked about even then how hard that was to make. He had a really fun match with Nicky Ryan at the trials. They were both kids. He's now the 1FC. He has a match with Isaac Michel coming up for the championship for, I think, 185. Now he's up at 88 kilograms like last time because he was in 88 kilograms. He jumped 77 completely. He left his brother to win that division last ADCC. Had the barn burnerest match ever against Nicholas Margali in the Absolute, and then got third in the Absolute. Didn't medal in his division, but got third in Absolute. So it's like, we're going to see him. That's why he got invited. You're a medalist in Absolute. It's time to bring you back. New gym in Costa Rica. We're kind of curious about what their training situation is like, but you have a copy of yourself and your brother, and you're both world title holders in organizations.
And I imagine that they're going to bring people in to train with them for the camp up to. Right. I mean,
you have a training partner. You're both in camp for world title fights. You have your best training partner in front of you. Sure. It's like that's the guy I would bring in. I have a clone of myself.
I imagine that they want to bring in 1 or 2 other people, just get some style views and things like that. But
they bring in Agazarm and other stuff. But Kade Ruotolo's phenomenal. He's been on the level. He's been there. He's a medalist ADCC, one of the youngest competitors ever in ADCC. Phenomenal athlete. Go watch him next week at 1FC. We also have William Tack in this division, winner of the 77-kilogram trials in 2022, the West Coast trials, and then last week wins the under 88-kilogram trials after subbing Jay Rodriguez with an A block. I have gotten so many messages about, because we didn't know the name of the lock last week, it being an A block. I appreciate all of the messages, always, but I've gotten a bunch. I got 2 messages today about it. I got one message that was, how many messages have you got about this? And I was like, a lot. So I appreciate that. William Tack, again, you win trials twice. You win West Coast trials twice. The bigger of the 2 trials historically, because it's the last chance for North Americans to qualify. He shows he's on the level. He did also place at the East Coast trials, losing to Paulo Ardilla, I think, but might have lost the earlier round. Then beat Jacob Couch. Then beat Rodriguez prior in that by footlock after Couch had ripped off Rodriguez's foot earlier. Tack is phenomenal. He's a good wrestler. He's at a Brazilian Fight Factory with his 2 other brothers, his other qualifying brother. And he's good everywhere, man. He's good scrambles. He's a little bit bigger than his brother, but he's been on the level for many, many years. Go back and watch all him and his brother's matches to show you that they're good everywhere. Moving on to under 99 kilograms. We already talked about Duarte. He's the favorite. Yeah. He's already beat Nicky Rod. We've already talked about him. Obviously, top guy in that bracket. Champion, invited, coming back. We have the first European trials winner, Luke Griffith, representing South America. Dude 6'5". and some other notes I made here. Gigantic. He's only been getting better and better. He's a really good leg locker. He's a multiple time trials winner in 2022 and 2023. And out of New Wave.
So New Wave, Danaher and Gordon's gym. Important to point out,
Well, look at who's at that gym. We have, guys that are just in ADCC.
Bodoni,
champion. Gordon, champion. Big Dan, multiple-time trials winner. Luke Griffith, here, multiple-time trials winner. You have Dominic Mejia, trials medalist. You have, I'm literally forgetting other guys in that. Helena Cravar, now, trials winner.
As of last ADCC, Margali was training with them.
Oh, yeah, Margali is there as well.
I'm not sure. Is he still there?
I think he's still there. He was out of Brazil, but he's back. I think he's still there. Nothing.
He's always bounced around a little bit, but last ADCC when he made the transition to training no-gi, he was with them, right? It's a force. Danaher's team will always be a force. They focus on ADCC, and they can win, right? They know how to win in this tournament.
Gary Tonen's there.
Tonin. And so you take a guy like Luke Griffith who has the body
6'5"
for doing jiu-jitsu.
He might be bigger than 6'5". He's enormous when I've stood next to him.
He is a very large man. It is impressive that he gets down under minus 99.
Oh my God, he is under 99. That's crazy. Because he's the Grapple Fest like plus 120 champion.
Yeah.
120 kilos. Like.
Yeah, but when you have Big Dan at your plus 99 slot for that team,
there you go, yeah.
Who's somehow bigger. So
like 300 pounds.
Yeah. So, it's always interesting to see new wave guys in this tournament. They tend to do very well.
Yep.
I think Danaher's classically trying to take every weight class.
Yep. And he's talked about it. And Luke has, he has already been to the World Championships. It'll be interesting to see his second run at the World Championships here. We also have Paulo Dilla. I forgot to make a note this. I have placed in like 6 trials.
Yep.
And then he's won like 4 or 5 of them.
Yep.
Like Ardilla is the guy you never want to see in your division at trials. Like, oh, cool, Paulo Dilla's here.
We don't see him do a ton of other stuff. He just comes into trials, wins ADCC trials, joins the Worlds, and then he's just a lawyer the rest of the time. He competes, certainly, but the main thing that we see him in is ADCC, and he wins trials and then just does the tournament. And
he just wins trials over and over and over. Because previously it was Wagner and DeBlas that had the most trials wins. I think Ardilla has surpassed that by a pretty significant number at this point, because he's again won, I think, on the low end 4 trials, if not 5 trials, and he has placed it at least 6.
And the sad part about that is, I mean, he looks good in the tournament. Like, it's very clear that he should be there. The reason that he's won 4 or 5 trials is because he hasn't placed in ADCC Worlds yet, so he's not gotten invites. He keeps going back to trials, but man, he is persistent and he keeps doing it.
Very few people can win that many trials.
And honestly, the talent pool at Worlds is obviously better.
Yeah.
But trials, I can see the argument that trials themselves might be a harder thing to win because you have so many matches in such a short period of time.
Trials. And I think it's not harder to win, but it's harder to game plan for.
Sure.
Because it's like you have a bunch of guys that I have no idea who the first 4 guys. I just have to recognize that I'm better than them and beat them in my game.
I guess what I mean is skill-wise, it's definitely not harder to win trials. Like mental toughness-wise, it might be harder to win trials.
You just gotta
you gotta just do it, and you gotta get a little bit lucky that like your bracket lines up in a specific way. You don't get the other guy that should be winning trials in your first round and gas yourself. Like there's just so many factors when you have that many matches.
I think the sheer unknown of a bunch of guys that like World Championships, you can plan for your whole division. I know what everyone brings to the table. Trials, your second match is like, okay, I guess it's this guy I've never seen before. I hope I can just beat him. And Ardilla has shown over and over and over that he can do that. They're impressive for different ways. I think it's a better way to put it.
Yeah, sure.
Moving on, we have Declan Moody winning the first Asian and Oceania Trials out of Australia. Big dude at a B team. Recent win over Daniel Stewart at the M1 event with the Lachlan's event. I don't know a ton about Declan other than like guys. I think he was Austin's pick to win trials. And then he won, and Austin went, called it. Austin from Grappling Around. When we previewed the Asian Oceanic Trials, he was his guy to win. Impressive. Again, there's a reason why Austin picked him. He's got something special. And again, you're out of that B team.
Yeah.
Those guys know how to get silver at the World Championships. I wish that was like a dig and like a funny, but it's like
that is it. That's
so
it.
consistent.
They're really good at getting second.
They're really good at beating everyone except for one guy.
Yeah.
Like consistent, like the most consistent team at the ability to like, we're gonna get the podium. Second place. They had the best post ever because they had 3 guys at the last trials get silver, and it was mission accomplished. And it was all 3 of them in the second place, and I just went, yeah, that's kind of a joke, but at this point, I'm a little bit suspect, and I'm a little wondering like. There's so many silver medals. You kind of gotta wonder, like, are they really trying for silver?
How are they always second? Yeah.
So that's Declan Moody. Again, I'm really excited to see more from him because he's a guy I'm not that familiar with, but he's on the level.
Yeah.
Marcin Machulowicz, who's a name I want to say very quickly because we get DMs from people in Poland because I'm mispronouncing it. he won the Polaris qualifier, and then he was in the GP. Didn't win the GP, but I've said it for years. We talk about it in Pedro Marinho and Junior Casio and like all of these guys that can win these other qualifiers for majors like Kasai and Polaris. Like being able to win those versus an open field to get a shot on a big super fight event is indicative of that you are very good. So Marcin Maciulewicz beats and wins the Polaris qualifier, and then I was like, well, look out for him. And then he goes on to win the European trials. He looks everywhere. He looked really good at trials. And I'm, again, excited to see guys that have gone through other kind of qualifiers go into the World Championships, because I think those organizations are great feeders to put people on the level and get them the experience in those big tournaments, to put them on the level against the experience to be able to go in. So that's Marcin Maciulewicz. Go watch him in Polaris on both the qualifier if you can find those matches, and then also in the GP. He's exciting out of Poland. We have Felipe Costa. He is your first South American trials winner out of Brazil. I have no bullet points for him, actually. We
missed bullet points on this one.
Yep. But again, go back and watch his run through South American trials. Plus, the under 99, I think it was a little bit of a slower paced match, if I recall correctly, but this is the first trials. We did these back to back. I did kind of mix up the qualifiers for it, but again, you won South American trials. That is indicative that you are very, very good and deserve to be at the World Championships. We also have the second South American Trials winner, Henrique Sassoni. You found this out.
Recent win over Cyborg, which is telling. We don't know. Again, this is another Trials winner that we don't know a ton about. He's been active since about 2017, but we haven't seen him win any of these major Worlds or Nogi Worlds. He's been around. He's a name that we know.
Yes.
He's a guy that we've talked about on the show before. But that recent win over Cyborg is impressive. Cyborg is still around. I think Cyborg hasn't gotten an invite yet. Or
he did. He got
an invite today.
Yeah.
And so Cyborg got an invite today.
We're talking about him and 3 people.
Yeah. So Cyborg got an invite today. He's been around ADCC for a long time. He knows how to play this game, and having that win over him is telling, in addition to his trials
Sony has a couple other big wins, and it always kills me because I can never remember who they are. But whenever Sony's in a bracket, it's always like, ooh, watch out for Sony.
Yeah.
He plays spoiler more often than not, and he's a guy that at any point in time, it wouldn't surprise me to have him turn the corner and be like, oh, you got to get past Sony now.
At the very least, he's a tough match that sets someone up to be exhausted for their following match if it doesn't go his way. Right? It's never an easy match.
Also in this division, we have Mason Fowler. Go back and watch his matches against Craig Jones in SUG, and also in ADCC. He is beating Craig Jones almost, and then Craig Jones has to sub his way out of the problem in 2019. Mason Fowler is one of the strongest dudes under 99 we've ever seen. He was under 88 previously. Just absurdly strong. Go back and watch his body lock crank of Craig Jones in SUG. Again, it's overtime win, so it doesn't really count, but the strength to watch him be able to do that to Craig Jones is astonishing in a way we've never seen anyone do to Craig Jones
and
before.
Anyone that ever trains or has matches against Fowler, that is one of the things that they point out. So even these guys that are also extremely athletic and extremely strong specifically know that Fowler is incredibly strong.
And he's under Kauã
very
Gabriel.
Technical under Kauã Gabriel.
He's a big dude that plays a little dude's game. We say that a lot, but Fowler is one of the guys that you really point to and he actually does that. He actually can play the inversions and the little guy game to be that technical and beat you. Trials winner, multiple time trials winner. But yeah, go back and watch.
I think he took second and then won trials in 2019.
Okay.
He got an invite this year.
Yeah, Fowler's a guy, again, he is a monster to get past for anyone.
And had good matches in
He's supposed to have that match with Gordon Ryan.
Yeah.
He's been winning on the Fight Pass Invitational, and they're trying to set that match up, but Gordon's been injured or sick. Yeah. So that is a match I want to see, and that's a match that Gordon wants. And if Gordon wants a match and he wants a match, that is indicative of the level that Fowler is on.
Yeah.
We also have Michael Pixley, who won this last week on Trials, West Coast Trials. He had a really tight match with Adam Bradley that didn't score because Bradley didn't settle the position as he needed to. He's a Pedigree guy. He's a D2 or D3 wrestler. I always kind of forget which one. But again, you can watch his matches at Trials. This West Coast Trials is really his coming out performance. We've known he was good for a long time, but watch him at Trials and see those first couple of minutes in those rounds, that's what he's going to look like. He'll be a tough wrestler for everyone to deal with because he comes from a traditional wrestling base. We also have announced today Cyborg, representing Brazil. He is the 2013 weight and absolute champion. He got second place in 2009 at ADCC. This is not trials. These are the world championships. Returning multiple-time champion of ADCC. Third place in 2017, 2013, 2011. Yeah, 2011. Been here for 15 years nearly.
6
at
medals
ADCC.
at ADCC. Worlds. 6 medals at Worlds.
Yes.
And also, interesting note here, I think the past 2 Worlds that he's been at plus 99.
Mm-hmm. I think before, more than that, I think.
Maybe before, but I think
this
at
is the
least
first one he's at under 99.
But now he's at under, I think early ones, 2011, 13, he was at like 77 or something like that.
Okay.
But
77, really?
yeah, he was much smaller. I did seminars with him back in like 2013, 11, 13.
Okay.
He was in like the middleweight ranges. Huh. But now, the past couple years, he's been at plus 99. He's going down to minus 99, which is interesting. He lost to
Haysom Rita this last
Rita.
time in the submission of the year,
Yeah.
essentially. And then he had that match in 2019 versus Nicky Rod, which is a textbook ADCC decision match. If you ever want to figure out how ADCC does decisions for initiation, go back and watch his match with Nicky Rod. Nicky Rod would go on to win silver in that World Championships. But again, Cyborg has been a force. I think a lot of people are going, oh, why'd Cyborg get an invite? It's like, yeah, man, because he has 6 medals at the Worlds.
And he's still competing,
and he's still winning.
Yeah, sure.
Like we picked against him for years, and then he just won at Kasai. He won the GP. He won.
And honestly, what was it? It wasn't that long. It was 2022, maybe. He just had an incredible breakout, or not a breakout. He had an incredible year where he won everything. The guy's still relevant. He's been medaling at ADCC since 2011, over a decade, right?
Yeah.
So the invite makes sense. And
absolutely makes sense.
I'll be interested to see what the dropping weight classes does.
Yep. Moving on to plus 99, the last division for the men that we have. We have Henki Julissa. He is the first European trials winner, multiple trials winner, represents Finland. He's been to ADCC before. He's won the trials for the last ADCC 2022. He wins it against Big Dan and took Big Dan down in the finals. That should give you an indication of how strong Henki Julissa is. We were training with John Hansen a couple years ago, and he talked about how strong Henki was. Like, everyone's like, oh yeah, man, he is ridiculously strong. He's been to ADCC. He did lose to Gordon in the first round at 2022 in the weight class in plus 99, but it's also Gordon. So you
hard to say what that means.
Yeah, but yeah, look for Henki. He is, again, we don't see him compete a ton. Really stays in Europe most of the time, but goes and wins trials, shows up at the Worlds.
Yep.
Speaking of Big Dan, didn't win the European trials, but comes back over to the U.S. trials and wins that one. Flo has him repping Romania, but because he won the U.S. trials, he's probably U.S.
Yeah.
Previously, he represented Romania when he won in Europe because he's a dual passport holder, but he's out of Philadelphia. So because he won the U.S. trials, he is probably representing the U.S. ADCC has you represent whatever trials you win if you are not invited. So he will probably represent U.S. Again, big guy out of New Wave. We talked about him. We talked about Bodoni and all the Luke Griffith and all the other guys. Occasionally has made tactical errors and mistakes, but go back and watch the match with Victor Hugo at Who's Number One. He lost that, but it just shows you how much of a dog he has in him late in the match.
Yeah.
And then he can gas hard, but we're seeing him consistently improve at New Wave, and we've seen him break a grown man's leg in half, which very few people can do.
Yeah, and he's a physical specimen. He's a massive man.
300 pounds almost.
Yeah, and not 300 pounds at like a chubby 300 pounds. Like, he is just
he's enormous.
He's enormous. And so you take that. He also hadn't been training for very long, and so he's one of these cases where you will watch how much skill he develops rapidly because he's competing at this level, training with the best guys in the world.
He's in the room.
And he has room to grow. And so, this is one of those guys that you can't really look at what he was doing a year ago and the mistakes he was making a year ago to predict how he's going to perform this ADCC, right? Because he's just progressing so quickly.
Yeah. So again, he 2 losses to Victor Hugo and a loss to Kyle Baim at the 2022, but that was really just, he tends to make little tactical errors now and again, and that seems like something that is easily fixable. They're not like technical errors.
Yeah.
They're tactical errors, and so it's like he can get ahead of that. Look for him to be a force in this division. We also have Josh Saunders, another big man. Josh Saunders,
They're all big man at this weight.
Yeah, that's my note for every single guy is a big guy, big house, giant guy. Josh Saunders, the first Asian and Oceanic Trials winner out of Australia, has a really interesting to follow on social media. He talks about he has a really interesting like training approach and like methodology for how he approaches it and like how he doesn't like to do reps of stuff. And it's a very modern training approach. And he talks about how he goes from he put out a post before he won trials that was a seminar, and the title of the seminar, it was on like a Friday, and it was a booking for like Sunday, how I won trials yesterday. And then he wins trials. It was like, whoa, that is fucking confident. So
incredible.
That gives you a view into Josh Saunders, like really interesting guy to follow and to watch because he just has a really interesting training approach. We also have Mark McQueen, another big strong dude.
Probably the coolest name.
Yeah.
In the Worlds this year.
Second European trials winner out of Scotland. For some reason, I think Miranda pulled up his stats when we looked at him. He's like one of the strongest dudes in Scotland when he was powerlifting. Been training jiu-jitsu a couple years. He beat Frederick Rosgrove at the European trials with like a pass. Enormous, strong. That's what we know about him. He's still pretty raw, but you win trials. Yeah. That's indicative of some special talent and skills.
And that's one of the things that at these upper weights you can see happening, right? We're starting to see an influx of athletes into jiu-jitsu, period. And the number of athletes at these upper weights is lower because there's just not as many people at these upper weights. And so you see the athletes permeate into minus 88 more quickly than plus 99 just because there's fewer people at plus 99 that fit that bill. We're now starting to see the sport expand so much that we now have in this bracket a group of people that are maybe not the best athletes in the world, but are incredible jiu-jitsu players, and people that are incredible athletes that are maybe not the best jiu-jitsu players, and they're fighting against each other. I think within the next 5-10 years, we're going to see both, because we're already seeing both at every other weight class. You know, like 88, you have to both be an incredible athlete and an incredible jiu-jitsu player. And so, you know, these last remnants of guys that maybe, you know, are not as experienced, but have these athletic stats and are able to learn how to use their body well and able to get good at one particular thing.
They can bridge that gap extremely quickly, and I love the era that we're in because, again, guys like Mark McQueen hasn't trained that long, but still has some phenomenal physical attributes and has learned enough to be able to go and contend against, again, guys like Freddie Vosgrove, who is like a long-time, super high-level competitor over in Europe, and like look him in Polaris, look him at like the IBJJF scene. To beat Vosgrove like is indicative of like putting a ton of work in on top of the overwhelming physical attributes.
By no means saying that it's an athlete only thing. That obviously doesn't work. Everyone's had the experience of rolling with some athlete that comes into the gym and doesn't know what they're doing. It's just a matter of you're an athlete, so you can learn the sport really quickly on top of being an athlete. So it's really interesting to see that happening at this weight class right now.
Yep. We also have Jose Inacio. He's the first South American Trials winner. We talked about South American Trials a couple
Couldn't
weeks
find
ago.
a lot of information on him.
But we will see more at the World Championships, and he's again one of those dark horse guys that we don't have a lot of information on, but it will be fun to see where he gets.
And we see that out of the South American trials a lot.
Yeah, that in the Asian trials sometimes it's hard to find some of the athlete information. We also have Victor Hugo in this division.
Not a guy that's hard to find information on.
Nope. Wins over Cyborg, wins over Big Dan, 3 wins over Nicky Rod, 2 wins over Big Dan. Like matches with Gordon Ryan that are like
good matches. Probably good. Gordon's best match that we've seen since he really took the reins as the most dominant force in jiu-jitsu was against Victor Hugo.
Victor Hugo's that guy.
He's also a massive dude on his own. Like he's
the best
265,
guard player.
270, and the best guard player.
Yeah, plus 99.
Yeah, plus 99 for sure.
Unless maybe you talk to Gordon, but
sure.
Nicky Rod couldn't pass him and keep it there.
Yeah. That
gives you an indication of how good of a guard player Victor Hugo is. So we also have Victor Hernario, big dude out of South America, won the second South American trials out of Brazil. Again, a guy we've seen around, really heavy pressure wrestler. Again, he's a big South American wrestler. You know what game he brings to the table for the World Championships. Speaking of guys that are not big, Mike Perez is also in plus 99. He just won last week over Vincent Penenzia, or Vincent Patuz, missing Vincent's last name for West Coast Trials. I think Mike Perez weighed in at like 178 is what Andre Galvao is saying. I think a thing said he weighed in at 174 at plus 99, which by the way is over 220 pounds. So Mike Perez is easily 50 pounds lighter than most of these guys in the field.
Basically at minimum 50 pounds lighter, because 220 is the bottom
of this division.
Yeah. There's guys, Big Dan's 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll be interested. I'm interested to see if Mike Perez, if we have this correct, what we saw was that he weighed 178. Galvao said that. I'm interested to see if he stays at plus 99 or if he tries to transition to another weight, because we've seen people transition to other weights before. It's less obvious cases where that has happened in the past, where someone's like, I want it minus 99.
Hey, man, maybe he's got the speed. Maybe this is the new hotness, is like guys that aren't.
Could be.
We saw it at heavyweight. We used to see giant heavyweights in the UFC. Now we're seeing guys that are 240, 220, and that's the sweet spot for that for most of those champions. So maybe this is the changing of the plus 99.
Could be.
Moving on to the women, we're running out of time, Zach. I have to go teach my class very soon. We have under 55 kilograms. We have Margaret Cicerelli. She's a European Trials winner representing Hong Kong. Flo has her out of Italy, but I think she repped Hong Kong for that. Oh, European Trials. So she would be representing Italy for this Trials. I thought she won Asian Trials.
I thought it was European Trials.
Okay, then okay.
Well, no, we don't have an Asian Trials winners for the women yet.
Oh, correct. Okay, thank you. Yep, it was European Trials. She was Unity for years. Now she's out of AOJ. Three-time world silver medalist, European champ, world pro winner a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Really, really top dog in this division. We also have Ana Rodriguez, South American Trials winner out of Brazil. Phenomenal in the gi and no gi. Go watch her matches.
Staple for the past 5 to 6 years.
4 years, I think.
You
maybe.
Think 4?
Yeah, I don't think she's been around as long as we think she has, but she's really made an impression for the matches that we've seen her in. We also have Mackenzie Dern here, invited. She is the 2011 champ, 2013 champ. She's been in the UFC for a while, but again, 2-time champ in this new women's weight class under 55. It's awesome to see her in here. We are kind of curious for how she's going to look because we haven't seen her grapple in a couple of years. Yeah. We have Maisa Bastos in this division. She is a multiple-time world champion, mostly a guard player. Notably, also, in 2022, she was smaller.
Yeah, she is still going to be probably the smallest person in this division. Even with the weight change to minus 55, I think she's going to be very small for the bracket.
But I think it makes it a much better match to have her. Like, Bastos is the reason why we wanted a 55 division.
Yes.
Like, because she just wasn't big enough to contend with women that are cutting to under 60 kilograms. She's not cutting to make 55 kilograms, and like this is a much more appropriate division for her, for hopefully her to be able to show off her skills. Very excited for that. We also have Jasmine Hocha winning the West Coast Trials. Bagner Hocha's only daughter. Her game looks like her dad's game. It's mean. It's kind of grindy. It's kind of dirty. She's kind of like mean about how she plays.
Yeah.
And we are seeing her rapidly improve. World medalist now. Like, she is absolutely going to be a champion in something next couple of years.
Yeah.
Like, her dad knows how to do it, and he has passed it on to her, and she looks phenomenal. And again, subs West Coast Trials win.
Yeah.
Moving on to the under 65 kilogram division, we have Ariella Verne. She's the European Trials winner from French Guiana, a location that Miranda and I keep getting the wrong location for. Really impressive gi and no gi recently. Go back and watch her European Trials final. It'll show you all you need to know about her game. Ana Carolina Vieira is the South American Trials winner, Baby Vieira. She's Rodolfo Vieira's younger sister. She's been in the gi and no gi for many, many years, and she's
multiple world champion.
Yeah. Baby Vieira is just a monster, and it's obvious to have her in this division. We also have Helena Cravar, the West Coast Trials winner. She's a new wave prospect. She's been in the ADCC hopper for a lot of years. She got second at the East Coast Trials, which is a non-qualifying trials for women. I've seen her in all of the opens in a bunch of different tournaments. She will one day be put on the ADCC podium. It'll be curious to see if it is this one or not.
She's very young too, if I remember
she's
correctly.
Like 16 or 7. Yeah. I think she's 17 now.
17 now. And
we've been watching her in the trials since she was 15, doing well, only losing to like Elizabeth Clay.
Yep.
Moving on to the plus 65 kilogram division, we have Nina Blackman. She's the European Trials winner. She's a brown belt, 2-time European World champion at brown, 4 times European gi and no gi. These are across the belts.
Yeah.
But I think these are also at brown, and she's the ADCC European Trials winner. We have Maria Rufato, South American Trials win. Go back and watch her finals match. She hits this really neat knee bar toe hold combination while defending a back take. Really, I look for her to hunt the leg. She's a good leg locker, and it is on display at South American Trials. We also have Elizabeth Mitrovic. She's been killing it in the IBJJF circuit for years. She won PANS recently. We've been covering Elizabeth Mitrovic since she was a brown belt champion on Fight to Win.
Yep.
And she was good then. She's good now. Nogi PANS champion, Nogi world champion, Nogi European champion in the IBJJF circuit. Really, really on the level and very, very good. Some notable names that are going to be there. We have 2 minutes, Zach. I got to teach my class.
Through it.
Nicholas Magali will be back. He is a medalist. We have Yuri. Is the absolute super fight. We have Nick Rodriguez, 2-time silver medalist. We have Gordon going to be back. We talked about that. Brianna Stay-Marie will probably be back. She is the silver medalist under 60 kilograms. She will take on Ffion Davies. Ffion has 2 wins over her, but Brianna is primarily a guard player. Again, silver medalist at the World Championships. Bia Mesquita, bronze medalist. She will return. Rafaela Geddes is the silver medalist at plus 60. She will probably return. Ffion Davies is the champ. Front runners for invites. Keith Krikorian, like I said, you trade 2 silver medals into invite. Keith is the most consistent trials medalist outside of Paulo Della.
Yeah. Except Keith's are usually second place.
Second place, but he has a win.
He has one. He does have one.
Show he can be the best guy there, but I think that Keith gets in. It'd be kind of a travesty to not have him get in. With
Everyone
just
loves
the
Keith
level of consistency in trials. Like,
Yeah.
nobody in the sport is as consistent as Keith is at trials. Oliver Taza, again, 2 different regions medaling in both consistently. It makes sense to give Oliver Taza the invite. Amanda Leve has the win at East Coast Trials with a non-qualifier for the women. She did hurt her leg. It is possible that she can come out. She does have a win over Gabby Garcia previously, but really it's the X factor of how her leg looks if she's going to get an invite. Gabriel Arges, we talked about. Heisam Rita had the sub of the year. It's a possibility that will get him back in.
He was an invite
ADCC
last time.
Yep, he has some odd
passport regions
and region issues. Also, Jay Rodriguez potentially is going to be in there. My wife is giving me a look that we got to go teach the class that I run. Again, front runner. Look at how he performed. He's a West Coast Trials winner and a multiple-time East Coast Trials winner and West Coast Trials medalist there. We also have Don Mejia, almost placing at this last trials and getting silver against Dorian Olivarez at the East Coast Trials previously. We have a stacked division. Guys we didn't talk about that are going to be in under 77 kilograms. Mika Galvao is going to be in there as a silver medalist, only losing to Kade Ruotolo by footlock in the finals. We also have Dante Leon.
These are likely
bronze.
Not people that are confirmed. These are all probables.
Probable names. At 88, we have Bodoni, Lucas the Hulk Barbosa, and Wagner Hosha. Wagner, we're curious about. Getting a little older, very good, but he's still out there grinding, competing. I think Wagner will probably return. 99 kilograms, we have Nick Rodriguez and Roosevelt Souza, who took bronze there. And that's everyone, man. Geddes and Brianna Stay-Marie got silver and medaled, and Bia Mesquita medaled for under 60 for women. We're not sure what divisions they're going to shake out to, but generally speaking, all those people are going to be in. Zach, I am late to teach. I got nothing else this week. Zach, anything going on?
I got nothing.
All right.
Let's get you to class.
As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined by my co-host,
Zach.
And we are the Grappling Around. See that what it is? Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.